Merry post-Christmas Marvels and Marvelettes. This is Napalm Dawn here on G4G, and I've got some news on two games. News that I think will make everybody pretty happy. One of the pieces of news, we still have to tread very, very carefully on. God, I almost sound like President Trump saying that. The news is very huge, but we need to tread very carefully. Very big deals. Very big things are happening. Just, I made it all up. Fake news. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that we're going to get into is that you'll notice here on Marvel Future Fights forums is that as of January 10th or January 9th Pacific Standard Time, the Ultimate Hero Chest will be removed from the store. In this post, they have not released any other information yet, but as you can imagine, the press is overwhelmingly positive that the loot box controversy that hit Netmarble's Future Fight a few weeks ago is now going to be resolved with the hero chests being removed. So that is, of course, quite good, and again, it goes to show you the power that gamers had in 2017. So let's take a look back at what happened with loot boxes in 2017 and where we are now. So the biggest one, of course, was EA and DICE's Star Wars Battlefront 2. That really brought loot boxes to the, yeah, of course. What the hell? Nox should know who I am. Really brought loot boxes to the forefront. Now, we know they've existed for a while, and technically in any card game, a card pack is a loot box. But then again, a card pack is a loot box in real life, so nobody really cared about that. But Star Wars Battlefront 2 really brought it to the forefront, and everybody noticed it and went, wait a minute, this is really, really awful. So now we had Belgium looking into it potentially being gambling. We had Hawaii declaring it as gambling. And now the Apple Store is forcing games that have loot boxes to go ahead and reveal the honest chances. Those of us who were Marvel Avengers Alliance players, we all had that epiphany moment where we knew the spinner was rigged. Everybody had it. Everybody went to the wiki and posted it the first time they noticed it. And the thread got summarily locked because everybody knew about it. It's just that nobody really actively talked about it. But everybody figured it out. There would always be that moment where your browser was a little laggy and you clicked to turn a spinner and all of a sudden you got progress for not a fetch quest, but a gathering quest. And you would see, like, your number go up, and you'd be like, wait a minute, I'm not done spinning yet. And you would say to yourself, holy shit, spinners are rigged. Well, yeah, actually they were. And this was a rather known thing that, the good thing on the spinner, we visually thought of it as a 1 in 9 chance. 3, 3, 3, 9 slots. Everything on there had a 1 in 9 chance of dropping. The truth is that was never actually the case. A square on there had its own percentage. The spinning, the border highlight, moving throughout the boxes and the 9 options were actually there really for visual reference. What was going on behind the scenes is that, say the weapon in the spinner was like a 1 in 64 chance, and then an EMP grenade was like maybe a 7 in 10 chance or something like that. So things were never really skewed in our favor, but those visual representations of it often allowed our brains to trick us into believing we stood a fair chance. Truth is, we never really did. The loot box controversy from Star Wars Battlefront 2 really proved that. It literally blew the door wide open, like a human trafficking ring or something like that. You knew it was happening, but here was like action news on the site, and you saw it happening in real time. So Marvel Future Fight, via Netmarble, released loot boxes literally right on the heels of Star Wars Battlefront 2. And what that did was it really freaked everybody out, because it was the stupidest thing ever. They were releasing a brand new game mechanic that we had never had in the game before, right after this huge, really big, really huge, it's gonna be great, it's epic, I did it all myself, fake news. This really huge news coming out of Star Wars Battlefront 2, turning everybody against loot boxes, and then Netmarble's like, oh, this is a really good idea, let's do loot boxes. You could kind of tell that there obviously was some form of a corporate plan to do this, and they really didn't take into account the cultural climate at the time. And that, of course, really screwed them up. And the voices attacking Marvel Future Fight were as loud as can be. I mean, the ratings on all the app stores plummeted. The 1-star ratings grew up. Everybody was using, you know, boycott MFF, boycott Marvel Future Fight. I really wish the tag that I came up with caught on, not in my game. I thought that would be a really, really good tag for it. I thought it would honestly catch on. But perhaps it's too rooted in older slogans. I do believe back during the civil rights movements and the whole sexual liberation and everything, there was like a "not my body" or something like that. It's perhaps too history class for people, but I really like the tag. I wish it could have caught on. Sadly, it didn't. However, regardless of whether my little funny hashtag ever caught on that I tried to use in different places, our voices were heard, and just like in Star Wars Battlefront, gamers' voices did their job. We were able to affect Netmarble's progression with loot boxes over here. What we need to do now, however, is that when the loot boxes go away, let's all make a pact to ourselves and go back to the stores and fix our ratings. Because if they get rid of the loot boxes, and if, and only if, we get Nova and Quasar and, you know, Anti-Man and everything like that, only if we get them in a reasonable way. I mean, Quasar is paywall, that's fine. But for the others, if Netmarble gives us those characters in a reasonable way, and by that, most people are honestly saying that you should go over here to 13 and take out like Black Panther and Captain Marvel or something, and put in, like here, right here, 13.3 should be Anti-Man. Now we have Quasar over here, but maybe make that one be Nova. Or something like that. If they inject those bios into these missions, which are tough. I mean, you kind of have to work to get these cleared at least once on 3 stars. Here, as you can see on 13.7, I only 2-starred it, but I've never really gone back to fix it because I have easier ways of getting Black Panther. If Netmarble gives us those bios as accessibly as American Chavez, the Latina lesbian Superman, Jessica Jones, then we should all optimize our reviews again and put them back to where they were before the boycott. It is only fair, and I do believe as a community, we absolutely should do that. Because if we're going to attack them for a negative thing, if they listen to us, it's only fair to be like, hey, you know what? We told you your new Coke flavor sucks. You changed Coke, props to you, Coca-Cola, for changing Coke back to where it was. It's going to be human nature to maybe leave our shit reviews up there and everything, and I don't think that's very fair. Let's have that contract amongst ourselves, our contract amongst all of us and Netmarble, and do our due diligence and fix the platform that we use to get this problem fixed. I do believe it's fair. So what is the second topic that we're going to talk about today? Well, let me get some auto running going on over here. And now we'll go over to the second topic, which I'm sure a lot of you guys definitely want to know about. A lot of people believe this was right on schedule. The Saviors of the Multiverse Reddit has been closed now for some time. Some of us have gotten back in right after the fallout. A lot of us have been locked out and are relying on other people, including myself, to get updates on what is happening with MAA's Rebirth or Saviors of the Multiverse. Well, back before Thanksgiving in like October, Gaminglife Beginner did post an update that he had a job, he was working a lot, and he was doing his best to get back to the game as much as possible, and he believed he was getting some progress going on. Discord was exceptionally quiet leading up to that moment because the wind was gone out of everybody's sails. Like, we really believed we had gotten the heckin' bamboozle on us. As soon as he surfaced for that one little post, Discord picked up again, and Season 3 ideas, development really started seeing some life. There was some sprite work going on, there was some artwork, there have been some season scriptings going on and everything like that. Shout out to Maximus Mad for doing a lot of work there. I was not really able to get around to reading the script because I was exceptionally busy at the time. But a lot of people kind of picked up the work that they were doing. We were also buoyed by the fact that Marvel Strike Force was coming out. So we lost Marvel Heroes, but then we really immediately gained a very good mobile game in Marvel Strike Force. I definitely will be doing videos on that, as I think it is a good game. And once you spend like a solid 15-20 minutes playing it, I do believe it'll hook you. Maybe not on a PC emulator because it's not emulating very well. But if you have a solid mobile device like a square-ish 8-inch or 9-inch or 10-inch tablet, I think you'll really like the game. But, so, here is the big news over here. So, here's some of the work that's being done. Frostbite is working on an art for a sword called the Tempest Saber. That's really cool. Not too sure who she is. Some people may recognize her. And, you know, there's some discussion going on. Ideas Temp was really, really dead. A little bit of use in December 10th. Here in development, they were working on Heimdall from a modern Heimdall look. They were working on Thor from the Ragnarok movie, including getting out his old hammer and his new sword. Shout out to Cold Death for the work there. As you can see, he's pieced apart the sprite so you can do the animation. He's got a leg guard over there that matches the sword. And all this started picking up like in the middle of November. And this was after the good news of Gaminglife Beginner resurfacing. Well, unfortunately, it's not visible on the Reddit, but according to a user on Discord, Mercury Epsilon, Gaminglife Beginner had gone ahead and responded to him directly in a DM, and I'll give you the news. Mercury Epsilon, and I quote, says, "I got a reply from Gaminglife Beginner when I wished him a happy holiday. I brought him up to speed where the sprites and story stuff are, and he seems to like what he sees. In what time he's squeezed into the game, he seems to have fixed some visual errors and with the animations and the login screen. He says to Maximus that Gaminglife likes his plan so far, especially the Kree and Skrull sections. To Cold Death, he likes the work a lot on the Ragnarok Thor sprite. Hopes that his computer troubles get fixed so that he can resume working on them. And would you be able to do a write-up on the heroes and villains in Season 3? And then maybe some Spec Ops work. He's also hoping that people, and this is in general, will begin to work on the placeholder sprites, and said that they don't have to be as detailed as you might expect. They simply could be stick figures and like wireframe, because, you know, he cannot release things with Marvel assets. However, once he essentially gets the framework out there, the skeleton, if you were to think of it that way, once you download it, you would apply a community patch that puts in the muscles and the tendons, the ligaments and the skin and the features, and now you have a Marvel game that nobody is really in trouble for. Like, Gaminglife can't be tagged for it because he's not releasing a, quote, Marvel game with Marvel licensed characters. They just look a little bit similar, and then you patch it out to be what you want. A good example of that was that Tiny Mighty game that had, like, fat versions of the Avengers, and Mr. X was, like, Mental Wheels, and Jean Grey was, like, Genie Phoenix or something like that. Like, you knew you were looking at Phoenix and Jean Grey, but it was named something else, and of course she was drawn in such ridiculous ways. You know, like Wolverine was, Metal Saber or something like that, or Metal Claws. Anyway, that's the update right now. So Saviors of the Multiverse supposedly has got some work going on with it, with Gaminglife Beginner. The community Discord is definitely still trying to pull some work for it. I think a lot of people are excited by the news that he resurfaced. Do I think that Mercury Epsilon is lying to us about this direct message? No, I do not. Do I think Gaminglife Beginner is actually doing the work that he claims? That's a different story. I don't want to sound like a Grinch. I don't want to sound like a Scrooge. I'll believe it when I see it. And in all honesty, I'll believe it if he were to release some examples of his work. That's where I think it'll do it for me. Do I believe him or not believe him? No, I'm rather neutral at this point. I'm not reserving any calories to sway my brain to an emotion either way. I'm not hyped, but I'm not like tinfoil hat, yeah fucking right, we'll see. I'm neither one of those two. I'm being very pragmatic and honest and logical about it, and saying that I just want to see some work. If he did the things that he told Mercury Epsilon he did, I would like to see him upload some screenshots. If you can come up from air long enough to have what seems to be a rather robust conversation, attach some pictures, dude. Go and send them up to a free Imager or Photo Bucket and link us to some of the work that you've done. You claim you've done it. You probably have proof in some way, shape, or form. Like, the one that really gets me here is, he seems to have fixed some visual errors with the animations and the login screen. This seems quantifiable. This seems like something you could say is a hard thing. What does the login screen look like? Maybe an animated GIF showing whatever the animations are. A brief little 30-second upload to YouTube. I mean, there was that guy who was working on this before Gaminglife who had that White Tiger animation on YouTube. He reverse engineered like White Tiger sitting there going through the motions of all her abilities and everything. That would do so much for Gaminglife and this community, because we're not weakening. Like, there are people who really, really still want this. Nobody's like, hey, you know what? Strike Force is great. Strike Force is going to scratch my itch. Or DC Legends has scratched my itch. Nobody is saying that. Everybody that I know is saying, my itch is not scratched. Nothing has 100% replaced it. So what is the best thing that we could possibly do? Rather than getting 30% here and 40% there and 30% over here, the best thing is to get a 100% game, and that's Saviors, if this guy is actually doing it. So, again, my official stance is, it's not that I believe him or don't believe him. I'm reserving judgment until I get proof. I have hope. Yes, I certainly have hope. People believed he would resurface for some kind of an update between Christmas and New Year, and it certainly seems like he did. He's, you know, fairly on a predicted schedule over there, but my opinion's out. I am, however, very, very hyped to see what the community did for Marvel Future Fight over here. We accomplished the same thing that a much larger community did for Star Wars Battlefront 2. Everybody who gave negative ratings, everybody who tweeted boycotts, everybody who posted on forums, everybody who convinced other people not to spend money. You guys get a handshake. You get a presidential baby kiss and handshake over here. We did a good job. And let's certainly hope that Netmarble responds to this in a very good way and does not get cheesy and make all the characters paywall or something. Be like, alright, you don't want to do it on a loot box? Fine, they're all fucking paywall. Because they're apparently pretty good characters. Like, Anti-Man, I'm hearing, is pretty good. I'm not too sure if I've heard too much about Quasar. Blue Marvel, I think I've heard some pretty good stuff about. I really want to fix my Universal weaknesses. I feel like with Quicksilver, Speed Day is really good. Blast Day is good with Doctor Strange and Sharon Rogers when able to. And Combat Day, Villain Combat usually kind of sucks a little bit for me. But obviously Hero Combat Wolverine is easy. Speed Hero, really fucking easy with Quicksilver. Blaster with Cable and the CTP. I need to fix my Universal problems, and Universal Villain isn't too bad with the Black Order and Hela and Loki, but Universal Hero is still a little trash for me because I don't have a good Odin. So, I've tried to experiment around with Thor, new Thor doing it. I still think Miss Marvel's my most consistent Universal Hero. Some people used to do Damon and Satana and everything. But, yeah, I would love to get a really, really good working Universal Hero setup, to be honestly. And that's where I certainly hope some of these new characters come in. So, that's it for me, guys. Hope you had a great Christmas and a great holidays. If you don't celebrate Christmas, Happy New Year coming up. And definitely stay tuned to the channel for some more Marvel Strike Force videos. And especially if hopefully the emulation gets a little bit better. Peace out, everybody.